sponsors, esteemed colleagues and friends, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, please allow me to congratulate the organizer of the 15th World Ocean Forum 2021 for putting together this very timely and important summit in the midst of very difficult business operating environment, which is exacerbated by the current COVID-19 pandemic. I would like to salute the team at Korean Association of Marine Industry that has tirelessly worked to bring this event to its fruition today, and also to the host of this event, Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries, Busan Metropolitan City, Busan Daily News. Round of applause for the team, please. This forum is an international event which is attended by multi-stakeholder from governmental organizations, private sector businesses, and NGO. The main theme of this year's forum is the future of everything, ocean transformation. Indeed, the ocean is currently entering an era of transformation. Since we are confronted with an uncertain future under the pandemic, it is inevitable to bring out agendas regarding ocean development and environment damaged by COVID-19. We expect that the ocean is going to be a place for big transformation. So we put the meaning of new aspect that the ocean industry will go through in our forum main theme. In my keynote speech today, I will be expounding on fishery and aquaculture 4.0, which are incidentally undergoing a major shaking and disruption, which I believe will see a major shift soon. About APEC. APEC is a regional economic forum established in 1989 and it leveraged on the growing interdependence of the Asia-Pacific region. APEC 21 members' economy aim to create greater prosperity for the people of the region by promoting a balanced, inclusive, sustainable, innovative, and secure growth by accelerating regional economic integration, and food priority has become an increasing concern and priority. World Food Crisis in 2050. You've probably seen this tagline many times, but the question that begs the reality today is, how serious is this crisis? APEC food security concern. The current COVID-19 pandemic has grossly exposed the gaps and weaknesses of our food supply chain, and the realization of the need for change come at the junction of development in localized and urban food growing, harvesting, processing, and long-term storage. We are now faced with both demand and supply of food security challenges. On the demand side, APEC economies must deal with a global population that will reach an estimated 9.6 billion in 2050, in which you will need an estimated 70% more food, 40% more land if we are to meet this demand based on current production cycle. Coupled with a recent finding by the WWF, which forecasted that there will be no more fish left to eat by 2048 if the world keeps fishing at this current pace. Wow! This is a double whammy, and for your information, you may want to know that APEC economies account for 80% of global aquaculture production and more than 65% of the world captured fishery. Now, before we dive deeper into the crisis that's looming before us, I think it is important that we have a macro understanding of the background and possible costs to current and future food shortages. The current driving force behind food production and consumption is the global economy. Simply said, ever-increasing demand and shortage of supply. To make matters worse, an estimated 1/3 of all food produced, equivalent to 1.3 billion tonnes, worth around $1 trillion, ends up rotting in the bins of consumer and retailers or spoiling due to poor transportation and harvesting procedure. In Asia Pacific, the estimated food waste loss is 50%. Global food production is also heavily dependent on the use of natural environment and resources such as the water, the sea, the land, river, lakes, forests, soil, mineral, plants, and animals. But how long can these natural resources last? If I may submit to you this morning, the world is now suffering from the consequences of economic and social progress over the last 100 years in the form of environmental degradation that is endangering the very system in which our future development and our survival depend on. This slide is extracted from my presentation during APEC PPFS Food Security Meeting in Vietnam 2017. In this meeting, the flora dwelled into sustainable natural resource management and the use of land, availability of fresh water, sustainable use of our marine resources, etc. As you can see, one of the key takeaway pointers is the urgency to strengthen policy and technical cooperation, or the use of technology to improve governance and sustainable use of our natural resources, and specifically in today's forum context, our ocean. This is a sustainable future that we want to build. We can try to cut down on our consumption, but can we produce more and better with less? More importantly, we need to decouple economic growth from environmental degradation, increasing resources efficiency, and promote sustainable lifestyle. Let me show you some example of environmental degradation that has caused our poor Earth for the past 100 years. Our polar ice caps are melting at an alarming fast rate. In short, the permafrost is thawing, and this is turning the Arctic tundra into a major source of greenhouse emission. As soil microbe, it converts carbon into carbon dioxide and methane, and the release of methane from the deteriorating permafrost will feed the thawing cycle, resulting in higher temperature in what scientists coin as global warming. Do you know for a fact that our ocean has been absorbing most of the heat trapped by greenhouse emission gas in the atmosphere for the past 100 years and resulting in a warmer ocean? About 93% of the additional heat in the climate system goes into the ocean. And recent research suggests that the ocean are heating up about 40% faster than previously estimated. Look at this chart. In a NOAA fishery funded study, it is found that many fish in some coastal areas are projected to migrate poleward or northward and move into deeper, cooler water. A separate study released by the National Academy of Sciences report that the total mass of sea animal is projected to drop by 5% for every 1.8 degrees Fahrenheit of ocean warming. Recently, I was in touch with a tuna fishery company in Asia, and they told me that their tuna catch has plummeted by 90%. And not because there's no more tuna in the fishing ground, but their fish finder indicates that the tuna are now diving much deeper than what their current fishery equipment could manage. The year 2020 is the hottest year ever recorded in the history of Earth. We are indeed facing a looming crisis, and I use the word looming because it is still not too late as we begin to realize its severity and start taking action to remediate it. Look at this chart. It is a chart to forecast land and ocean temperature forecast by NOAA, and it certainly doesn't look like it's getting any cooler in the near future. In the light of the degrading environmental conditions such as global warming, which result in warmer ocean, I can tell you that it's not looking bright for our future generation. So the question that back at this reality check is, how do we decouple economic growth from environmental degradation? I believe that this current COVID crisis is an opportunity for a profound systemic shift to a more sustainable economy that works for both people and the earth. The emergence of COVID-19 has underscored the relationship between people and nature, and its glaring facts will remain. Humans have unlimited needs, but the planet has limited capacity. There is a limit to which humans can push nature before the impact turns negative. We must change our fishery and aquaculture production methodology. We need to use technology to increase current productivity by using lesser sustainable resources, lesser pollution, moving towards carbon neutrality, and be part of the circular economy. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings me to the crux of my keynote message for today. We are now in the midst of entering into a new era known as Fishery and Aquaculture 4.0, our possible answer for future of tomorrow's generation. About Industry 4.0. In this new era, it has been forecasted that robots will take over more than 5 million jobs over the next 5 years. Fisheries and farm workers, if they don't downgrade their operation and skill set, will be competing with machines for jobs and possibly left behind. You will also begin to see an acceleration in innovation and in the use of technology, major disruption via the use of technology, using less to produce more and in a sustainable manner. In Industry 4.0, it will be largely covered by these 4 areas: the use of big data, precision fishery and farming, Internet of Things, and adoption of new technology that are highly disruptive and sustainable in the light of the next big trend facing the industry. Now, what is big data? Big data are extremely big data set that may be analyzed computationally to review patterns, trend, and association, especially relating to fish behavior and interaction. We spoke earlier about the trend of fish migrating towards poleward and diving deeper. Big data will become an indispensable tool for fishermen and farmers as it's previously not affordable nor available to small players. With the information gathered, there will be a transformation of the entire supply chain, and the industry will now be able to use the data to harvest, to produce the right product at the right price and time. Whereas today, fishermen and farmers are largely controlled by the middlemen. According to research agency Gartner, mobile devices today such as handphone outnumber human by 4:1. Wow! The use of IoT via mobile phone will become a norm in the industry, resulting in a significant financial saving and time cost. I hope all the fishing companies and aqua farmers that are attending this forum, you are hearing me out. You need to start changing and transforming your operation. Look at this chart. This is a trend analysis that's based on historical data to identify opportunities in the current aquaculture farms. Today, I can be rich and powerful because I know something you don't. Foreknowledge is powerful and can set you up for precision and predictable fishery best practices moving forward. With the availability of big data and mobile devices, imagine with me that the fishery industry has access to an artificial intelligence system. Do you know that fishing also affect ecological processes of ocean at a very large scale? Overfishing transforms an originally stable, matured, efficient ecosystem into one that is immature and stressed. This happens in various ways. Example, by targeting and reducing the abundance of high-value predators, fisheries deeply modify the trophic chain and the flow of biomass and energy across the ecosystem. It also disturbs and alters habitats, most notably by destroying and disturbing bottom topography and associated habitats such as seagrass, algal blade, coral reef, and the benthic community. Now, more importantly, and you may not be aware, but most fish species have evolved narrow temperature tolerance. For a fish to support the cellular machinery necessary to tolerate wider temperature, it would demand a lot of energy. This evolutionary strategy saves energy when temperatures are just right for the fish, but it becomes a problem when the fish find themselves in warming waters. As the body begins to fail in warming waters, the fish must divert energy from searching for food, avoiding predator, to maintaining basic bodily functions and searching for cooler water. Thus, as the ocean warms, the fish move to track their preferred temperature, resulting in a move towards the pole or deeper water. At this juncture, I also need to qualify that for some species, warming actually expands their range. In other cases, mostly it contracts their range by reducing the amount of ocean they can thermally tolerate. This shift changes where the fish will go, their abundance, and their catch potential. Now imagine with me at this moment, an artificial intelligence system on fish movement as a resulting of warming ocean or as fish changes, to their habitats. Adoption of blockchain technology. This is an ongoing APEC project on the use of blockchain technology for tackling food loss waste problem in the hospitality industry. You heard me share earlier about food loss waste statistics, and this project works under the overarching principle of ESG, environment, social, and governance. Are you currently sourcing from sustainable fishery supplier that's using sustainable fishery and aquaculture production methodology? Is any part of your supply and value chain degrading the environment? Are you using sustainable resources for your production? What are your measures to prevent further environmental degradation in your supply and value chain? Fisheries and aquaculture 4.0 must operate under the overarching of ESG, as I've mentioned earlier. You heard me expound about this area, and it's really about sustainable production, be it wild captured fishery or aquaculture, and the use of clean and renewable energy as we move towards a carbon neutral society, which is very much a part of the circular economy. I have good news for you. ESG investment in the recent years have soared, and I'm pleased to share that some economies are planning to expand their ESG responsible investment to more than 50% in the next 5 years. Now, you will want to be in the right place, right implementation of ESG strategy in your operation, and at the right time moving forward if you want to catch this next wave of investment and incentive. Sustainability for the fishery industry will often relates to the ecological impact of your fishing methodology, carbon neutrality practice, and of course ethical concepts such as IUU fisheries, mammal protection, eco-marine product certification, eco-friendly energy use. I won't go into these details today, but we must be cognizant of the glaring fact that ESG is indeed our major key to mitigating environmental degradation issues. What can we do? What shall we do? I have a proposed strategy for you today. A tripartite teaming agreement strategy amongst three parties: the fishery industry, aquaculture industry, and the public sector. A strategy to restock the ocean. Now, before you cast any stone today at my proposal, can I ask that you listen to my entire proposition before you decide to discount it? I know that this topic of restocking the ocean or stock enhancement, as it is previously known, has surfaced years ago and it has failed miserably then. However, with the evolvement and advancement in technology today, as I've seen and partaken in it, it tells me otherwise. So please bear with me for a few more minutes. Look at this chart. I have compartmentalized the three roles of the three proposed parties. Fishery industry to provide the necessary wild-caught endemic brook stock and partial divestment of their resources, which include funding into the aquaculture industry. We did the brook stock from the fishery industry. Then the aquaculture industry will be responsible to develop and produce the fingerling to be released back to the ocean using sustainable and commercially viable methods of fingerling production. The public sector then will set up marine reserve to be gazetted non-fishing ground for X number of years for the release of the fingerling, and they will launch concession and funding support for this initiative, which include tax initiative. Okay, there is in African country I know where the fishery import quotas are linked or pegged to importers' aquaculture production. Now look at my assumptions. There are currently an estimated 4.56 million fishing vessels worldwide, both big and small. Now assuming we only take 50% of these numbers, 2.28 million, where each fishing vessels invest in the production of 100,000 endemic species fingerling a month. In 12 months, you will have released about 2.7 trillion fingerling. Now assuming only 50% of this fingerling survive, you will have a net annual harvest of 1.37 trillion adult fish at 500 grams each. Today, current worldwide wild captured fish numbers is about 0.79 to 2.3 trillion fish. Hey, we are not too far from it. Think about it. This is a possible reality using conservative assumption. Now, let me address some of the past naysayers or doubt that you may have on such a possibility. Why is restocking of the ocean possible today? The advances in hatchery techniques and technology, has evolved tremendously over the last few years. I was involved a few years ago in a sea bass and grouper hatchery. The gold standard is about 10% survival of the PL after 45 days. Through the use of advanced spawning technique and hatchery water treatment processes, I was able to break through repeatedly a 41 to 51% survival today. As a result, the cost of fingerling production dropped drastically by more than 50%. Releasing of fingerling into the wild is no longer an expensive exercise as in the past. Advances in animal genetics. This photo was just taken just before the COVID lockdown in Malaysia in my project farm. On my palm, as you can see, is jumbo-sized shrimp monodon. It is about 30 grams. It takes just slightly more than 90 days to reach this size because of the advances in shrimp genetics. 15 years ago, it would have taken 9 months to reach this size. The use of technology such as selective genetic breeding is a must for ocean restocking. Advances in fish feed has also helped farmers shorten their grow-out period, and this is an example of using less to grow more. Advances in land-based smart farming system. There is a new sunrise industry taking place in the aquaculture industry in the form of smart urban farm. Yes, smart urban farm that occupies very small footprint and super intensive in production as compared to current traditional farm. Look at this slide. Current farm in 1 hectare, they produce 34,000 kilograms of fish on the average. Under the new technology, in 1 hectare, they can produce 2 million kilo in production annually, 58 times more. energy efficiency. In the past, we used 25 to 30 kilowatt to produce 1 kilo of fish. Today, with the technology, we only use 1.5 kilowatt. And this farm uses zero antibiotics and are climate smart too. That is, they can operate 24/7 and 365 days a year, regardless of weather condition. Next, I'm going to show you a video what a smart current farm looks like. Isn't it amazing? Such a small farm, occupying only 0.2 hectare and producing a staggering of 400,000 kilograms of fish as compared to a current farm of 34,000 kilograms in just 1 hectare of space. Now, more importantly, if you notice, this farm is operated by a one-man show and zero use of antibiotics. Fisheries and Aquaculture 4.0 is more than just a movement or theory today. It will be a much smarter and efficient way that will help the fishery and aquaculture sectors predict the next big trend and the crisis that's facing the industry. Now, in closing, I would like to pen the following for your thoughts. Sustainable fisheries are like healthy bank account. You live off the interest and don't deplete the principal. This is a quote I've taken from the conversation. You need to top up your bank account if you want to generate higher long-term yield and interest. Environmental change can reduce your principal and interest like an inflation. How true that is. It is time to start working on these areas that's affected and depleted our interest rate and our returns from our global fishery bank account. The current COVID-19 pandemic is not going to go away so quickly, nor will it disappear in the next 1 to 2 years. We must be prepared for a possible long-run battle before we can finally eradicate the virus. And there isn't a much better time than now for the fishery industry, the aquaculture industry, and the private sector to team up with a concerted effort to rebuild and restore the natural resources in our ocean before the ocean is fished to depletion. A right teaming strategy between the fishery, aquaculture industry, and public sector can possibly be the most likely be our next silver lining. It will be a long-term life fishery insurance policy for our children's generation. Thank you.